At the end of 2024, I decided to pick up a new hobby, journaling. It's something I'd always wanted to try because of the supposed mental health benefits of it, and also because I like the idea of being able to look back at my year and see how I felt throughout it. One thing I decided early on was that every time I finished a game in the new year, I would dedicate a page to the game in my journal. I thought it would be pretty interesting to document how many games I finished in a year and how I felt about them, and that's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to do super quick reviews of each game that I finished in 2025. These aren't necessarily games that came out in 2025, just games that I got around to finally playing in 2025. And I'm the type of person that likes to start like 3 games at a time, so don't be surprised when some games are very close in terms of finishing dates. With all that out of the way, let's get into the first game I completed. As a longtime fan of Resident Evil, I agreed with the general consensus that the games had kind of forgotten the horror part of the survival horror genre, and had been turning into more of action games. So finally getting to play Biohazard felt like a real breath of fresh air. The Baker house is a horrifying location, and the Bakers themselves are terrifying. Except Lucas, he's just a bait. I really felt for Ethan and Mia, as well as Zoe, which playing as Joe the Punch Uncle trying to save Zoe was really peak gameplay. But back to the Winters. Seeing the devotion Ethan had for Mia really made me root for his victory, and finding out how Mia was involved with Evelyn was such a good twist. Speaking of Evelyn, she was a fantastic villain and a great final boss battle. Finishing Resident Evil 7 made me so excited to get to Village. It had been a few years since I had played the first the Somnium files. So finally getting around to the second one, I was ecstatic to see Date and Mizuki again, especially since we got to play as Mizuki this time around. nirvanA Initiative was really a great experience, much like the first game. Starting the game with Ryuki and Tama was a little bit of a shock, especially with the way that Ryuki was acting in the beginning during his breakdowns. And even more so with how horny Tama was, because it really got to a point where me and my friends were all just groaning at the screen for her to shut up. Then getting to Mizuki's part after, and finding out that Mizuki was actually a clone of the missing orphan named Mizuki from Iowan Orphanage was an amazing twist that I genuinely did not see coming. The twist of the timeline in this game was so freaking fantastic. Me and my friends were all staring at the screen flabbergasted trying to figure it out, and once it clicked, we were so hyped at how so many things we were questioning suddenly made sense. Much like the first game, nirvanA Initiative has an amazing twist and an even greater plot. The most recent game from Hazelight as of this video, Split Fiction, sees you and your partner take control of 2 aspiring writers called Mio, who writes sci-fi, and Zoe, who writes fantasy. Taken into an interview at a company that's trying to literally suck the ideas out of people in order to fuel their shitty chat jippity machine. Much like the rest of Hazelight's games, Split Fiction's focus is on exploring several different playstyles in a bunch of tropey, stereotypical sci-fi and fantasy worlds. Now, you might think that I'm saying that as a negative, but it's actually a huge praise to the game. Every type of gameplay is incredible, and nothing ever feels dull or overstays its welcome. A favorite of mine was definitely the fairy animal fantasy world. The ending where the worlds were converging and the game was literally changing on the fly was so crazy sick, and me and Twy were insanely hyped the whole sequence. Overall, a really beautiful and fun game to experience. So getting into the next game, I will say that after the intro, I feel like Village starts to feel much more like regular Resident Evil games compared to Biohazard. Maybe it's just me personally, but I feel like the game was much more focused on action than horror. I will also take a quick moment to talk about the villains, because I feel like Village's 4 houses is a real mixed bag. The most iconic and memorable of the villains are definitely Lady Dimitrescu and Heisenberg. Both feel intimidating and like they're real active threats during their chapters. Donna feels like missed potential. The dollhouse section is so short that when it ended, I was genuinely surprised that it was over in less than an hour. Salvatore just feels forgettable. Like, his fight is stupid easy and he barely does anything in the story. Finally, Mother Miranda is just kinda I don't know, I didn't really feel anything towards her. She was just kind of whatever. But regardless of all that, I really like the game, and I hope we get to see Rose as a protagonist in her own game soon. Indivisible is a game I played a demo for in 2015, bought in 2019, and didn't play until last year. I'm not really sure why, but I never heard much of the game, so I had no expectations going in. Indivisible follows Ajna, a girl that is the reincarnation of the third eye of a malevolent goddess named Kala, going around the world gathering allies with their own unique fighting styles, solving people's problems, and finding leads to get to and destroy Kala, all in a beautifully 2D animated style that Lab Zero Games is known for. Shout out Skullgirls. I really like the characters and interactions of Indivisible. especially Ajna. I can really feel for her rage and despair of losing her adopted father and bringing the people she loved into danger. Seeing her grow throughout the game and having her realize the error of her ways by being influenced by Kala felt well written and authentic, especially with the amazing voice of Tanya Gunadi. I really love the diverse design of characters and playstyles. Why did no one tell me this was a sequel to Dishonored? I barely heard anything about Deathloop after it released. And truth be told, the only reason I gave it a shot is because I got it for free on the Epic Store. But I am so glad that I did. I was expecting this to be a clunky mess that I would just dip into for a session or two, but the story and mechanics of the game got me hooked after just a few tries. I ended up really liking Cold and Julian. I feel like I could understand both of the reviews surrounding the time loop they were stuck in, and ultimately, I ended up going with Colt's goal of breaking the loop. The game functions pretty similar mechanically to Dishonored 1 and 2 from my memory of those games, but just with a more modern shooter feel, and I do think that gives Deathloop more of its own identity. Overall, I'm glad we got to see more in this universe, and I do hope we get to see even more in the future. I love Friend Swap, I love Friend Swap, I love Friend Swap. Peak has honestly been such a fun game to boot up with the homies every so often to climb this hellish mountain.
We still have to look out for zombies though.
Imagine they fit.
Yeah.
I really want to see a zombie.
Oh, well, look at that.
I've completed several peaks both alone and with others by now, and earned almost every badge save for a few of the newer ones. And I can say that I still think this game has massive potential. The memories I have of playing this game are ones I treasure, and some I still reference with friends to this day.
He passed out. Oh shit.
Hey, who's laughing, bitch? I'm still alive.
Overall, I'm including Peak here because it deserves to be recognized. So thank you for filling my year with hilarious and frustrating moments, Aggro Crab and Landfall. I think in total, I've started like 6 Stardew farms, and last year was the first time I ever actually finished a run. What can I say about Stardew Valley that hasn't already been said by millions of others? And yes, I'm playing with the furry mod by Gavalier. Leave me alone. Playing this with Twy was such a fun experience, and it actively gave me goals to work towards having someone else that would help me push towards the end. Actually getting to perfection was such a long job, but it was honestly so rewarding, and I'm glad I finally got to experience everything, or at least most of everything, that Stardew has to offer. Also, Harvey is handsome. I don't know if I have a lot to say about Bokura Planet. It's a fairly easy multiplayer puzzle platformer by developer Tokoron Yori, where each player experiences part of the story viewed for their character. In Bokura Planet, you don't have different visuals, however. It's more about the character's inner struggles. And I do mean inner. Truth be told, I feel like the gimmick of the first game was a little more interesting and well done, but the story of Planet is definitely better done than the first, at least in my eyes. Darkwood is a game I have a complicated relationship with. I love the grungy and dirty aesthetic of the game. I'm a big fan of the gameplay and the combat. I feel like the limited vision, limited item storage, and limited durability really makes you consider all your options at all times, and makes it nerve-wracking when things go in an unexpected direction. Nights in Darkwood are terrifying. I don't feel like there was ever a night that I felt prepared for in a way that my hands weren't perspiring the whole time, and I was breathing like... Now where I have issues with the game is with the progression. I was very much a hoarder the entire game. I only broke out my good weapons during the very final fight against the fire people, and it made the fight stupid easy. And even then, I still saved all my high caliber guns in case another big fight was coming. I was frankly shocked when the end of the game came. I assumed with the whole chapter 1 and chapter 2 thing that we would at least get one more chapter. But then the game just kinda ended, and I was left a little dumbfounded. But regardless of that, Darkwood was still an incredible game that deserves all the praise it can get. Castlevania Aria of Sorrow was my favorite Castlevania game as a child on my Game Boy Advance. Last year, I realized I don't think I'd ever actually finish the game, despite already knowing the end of it. So I decided to finally play my favorite Castlevania again. Aria of Sorrow follows Soma Cruz, the reincarnation of Dracula, although he doesn't know that yet, going to a shrine during a solar eclipse with his childhood best friend Mina Hakuba. During the solar eclipse, the two of them, together with several other people that are important to the lore of Castlevania, gets trapped inside Dracula's castle, which was stuck in the solar eclipse. Aria of Sorrow introduced the Tactical Soul system, a mechanic that allows you to absorb the souls of defeated enemies in order to grant you new abilities to use. In the lore of the game, Soma possesses the power of dominance, which is what allows him to absorb monster souls. The game is very similar to Symphony of the Night in terms of gameplay, and I really like that game, so it's really no surprise that I love this game as well. Twy and I finished another Hazelight game last year. A lot of the gameplay things from this game were carried over to Split Fiction, so in terms of gameplay, I don't really have much to say about It Takes Two. The story of the game follows Cody and May, a couple on the verge of divorce who gets cursed by their evil witch daughter, Rose, where their souls get trapped inside these voodoo dolls, where after they get haunted by a book called Dr. Akeem, who looks like he would touch me inappropriately. The game centers around Cody and May not only finding their love for one another, but also their love for life, all their hobbies, and dreams. And they always work things out together, in the end culminating in the two of them returning back to their own bodies and stopping their sorceress daughter from escaping the scene of the crime. Overall, pretty good game. This game felt like Hazelight was really starting to get an idea of the way their game should work. Much better than A Way Out mechanically, at least. As a big fan of Pokémon Legends Arceus, I was really excited when another Legends game was announced. So, let's get into Legends Z-A. There's quite a few differences from Legends Arceus to this. Some, I think, for the better, and some, I think, for the not quite as better as the previous one. Firstly, I think I much rather enjoy the wild zones of Lumiose. At least conceptually. The seamless integration of going between overworld to the locations where Pokemon can be caught works a lot better for the Legends games than having to go between loading screens. I also think that the customization of Z-A is a massive improvement over Scarlet and Violet and Arceus. Now, something I do feel is a downgrade is the catching system. I think the switching between Pokemon and item in Legends Arceus worked a lot better, and also removing items like the berries and the smoke bombs feel very much like a downgrade. Also, the late game grind feels very dull and boring, but that can't be helped, I guess. The story in the game is honestly really amazing. The characters, the story beats, and the ending are all what sell the experience of the game for me, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Buddy Simulator 1984 was a game that was recommended to me by a YouTube essay. I got around 3 minutes into the video before they recommended that you should play it for yourself, and the pitch was so intriguing that I ended up going for it. Buddy Sim is kind of an odd one. I feel like it exists in a space between Undertale and like Pony Island? But even then, I feel like it's also completely its own. It's a game with 3 stories unfolding at the same time. One is Buddy Sim, a program designed to do nothing but be your friend, becoming sentient and wanting to keep you here. I named my buddy Docs. The second is the adventure game. The game created by Docs to have something more engaging that will keep you, the player, around. And finally, the story hidden in the files. The story of a neglectful father whose obsession with his game leads to his own downfall. All 3 stories converge by the end in fantastic ways, and I would highly recommend trying to go for all the endings if you try this game for yourself. And now, for the final game I finished this year.
Take my meds. You got the hate and the jealousy. This ain't no Kikos, don't copy me. Hating on me, but you can't even read. I'm popping my pussy when I hit the category.
I have a soft spot for Telltale's The Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead, so when I learned that a lot of the same people were working on a new game, I was very excited. I genuinely enjoyed every moment of Dispatch. The story was a little cheesy, but still so much fun. And the thing that I loved the most were the characters, unsurprisingly. Everything surrounding Robert and the Z-Team was incredibly well written, and giving Waterboy a chance, saving Invisigal from becoming evil, having Robert become a true hero, and having Coupe return to the team made everything fit into place perfectly as a hero story. I was super satisfied in my run. It really felt like I was making the perfect movie. Also, if I could request one thing from Ad Hoc, please give me a game mode of just the dispatching and banter, because not gonna lie, those were the most fun of the entire game for me. And lastly, I would like Sonar to do things to me. I want to kiss his stupid little bat snout and have him give me back shots, please and thank you. And with that, that's every game I finished in 2025. If you guys liked the video, please let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll make one for the next year. Don't forget to like and scribble dibble dibble dabba dooba dibby da da. Hope you guys have a good day, and let's have a great 2026. See ya!
Alright, come on. I hate you, Nick. Oh my fuck, I fucking hate you. Oh my god. It's over. It's so over.